So if you're investing in property, you've probably heard the age-old debate. Should you buy an apartment, should you buy a townhouse, or should you buy a house? So what we're going to do today is break it down for you and work out what's the best thing for you and the pros and cons of each type of asset class.
Now, the first asset class that you can choose to invest in are apartments. Now, the great thing about apartments is that they're a lower price point, and so that means your deposit required to get into the market is a lot less. Now, another great benefit of apartments is they have a lot of amenity associated with them. They're typically next to major town centres or city centres, and as well as that, they give you a fantastic rental return. So apartments are a great way to start your portfolio. However, from time to time, apartments may suffer from a lack of capital growth, but the yield on these assets are absolutely amazing.
So we've had a tremendous amount of success investing in apartments all throughout Australia. One story that stands out is a client that purchased a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 2-car space apartment in the suburb of Cannon Hill back in 2020 for $439,000. Fast forward to today, they've made upwards of $300,000 of capital growth in the short space of 5 years. The next asset class that you can choose to invest in is either a terrace or a townhouse. Now, the great thing about these style of investment is that you get a bit of land, and so quite often you get some backyard, but as well as that, you have access to amenity in many instances as well. So you're looking at a more traditional style investment similar to a house. However, you have the benefit of a lower entry point. Now, with these townhouses, they tend to be in middle ring suburbs. So again, close to really good amenity, and the surrounding traditional homes are a lot more expensive. So with these townhouses and terraces, you're getting into a really fantastic suburb at a fraction of the price of a house. A client success story that comes to mind when purchasing a townhouse is a client of ours who purchased northern suburbs of Brisbane in a suburb called Newport. Now, they purchased a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 2-car space townhouse, $489,000. Fast forward to today, that property is worth north of $750,000, an amazing asset for their self-managed super fund. Now, the third asset class that you can choose to invest in, and one that a lot of our clients have chosen to invest in, is traditional house and land. Now, the great thing about house and land is that you own the block of dirt underneath that house, and houses traditionally over the last couple of years have outperformed every other asset class. Now, one of the downsides with houses is quite often the yield is not as high as townhouses, terraces, or apartments. And these houses are traditionally in outer suburbs where there's emerging infrastructure and emerging amenity. Now, there's no right or wrong with regards to what style of asset you should choose to invest in. It all depends on your situation. So you shouldn't discount apartments, you shouldn't discount terraces and townhouses, and you shouldn't discount houses because they're expensive. It really comes down to your individual strategy and what's going to be the most suitable thing for you and your situation. So something to take into consideration as well is that with traditional houses, you are responsible for the repairs and maintenance on the entire property. Now, a couple of things to take into consideration when you're thinking about which asset class to buy. With apartments, while you do have strata, the great thing about that strata is it looks after the repairs and maintenance of the common property. You get access to a lot of amenity as well, such as gyms, saunas and swimming pools. This makes that property more desirable, and it means that your tenants will pay a little bit more to access that amenity. So something else to take into consideration when owning a house is that you as the owner are responsible for all the repairs and maintenance of the dwelling itself. You can't rely on strata or anyone else to make those repairs. So for example, if you have an issue with your gutters, if you have an issue with your cladding, you as the owner of that house are responsible for the repairs and maintenance, and that will fall upon you. And it means that in the long run, you may be up for some significant repairs and maintenance on your own, which can affect your budget. Now, investing is really about your own personal preference. There are pros and cons to each individual asset class. What you need to do as an investor is determine what the most appropriate asset class is for you and take action, invest, and enjoy the benefits.